Hello, everyone, and welcome to tonight's episode of Call of Cthulhu, Masks of Nyarlathotep. My name is Alexander Rabitsky, and I will be your keeper of arcane lore. You may just call me the Keeper. Tonight we continue our action, mystery, horror adventure through the world of the Cthulhu mythos in a legendary campaign spanning the globe. I am joined, of course, by my wonderful friends here at Internet Remix. We have Split Guardian.
Oh shit! I already cracked my brewski with the boys. I hold on. There we go. What the fuck? I needed a funny.
We have Atwis.
Do you think we could make it around the world in 80 days?
That's a whole other campaign, and I'm willing to try that. There actually is a Around the World in 80 Days RPG that's being made right now.
Tight.
Yeah, I think it's being developed at the moment. Cool. I think I could be wrong. No, wait. It's either I think there is an RPG, but I think there's also making a television show as well, a new TV adaptation. I cannot remember.
I saw something about that.
Yeah. Anyway, next up we have Upgraded Moon, also known around these parts as Jordan.
Hi.
Thank you.
What?
We have Bro Dingles, known around these parts as Bro Dingles.
God dang it. No, I was gonna say that I went through like 3 different bits in my brain before we started because I wanted to also have a funny, and what I landed on was like, for some reason my brain imagined us doing the opening, but it's a Too Many Cooks style. Person turns around and smiles and their name is in the bottom text. Just wanted to but no. Once again, I have been foiled by the known as protein.
Sorry, I was in the middle of. I was like, oh, you got Brodingles, and I just thought I can make this funny. Known around these parts as Brodingles. God, I'm sorry.
You stole their bit time.
I did. I'm so sorry. Anyway, we have to move on. We've got budgets. You know, the books, man, the books. We have the one and only Kristen Trzynski.
Superbook!
Is there a bit I'm missing here?
Oh yeah.
Oh, it is a bit. I will explain it in the post show, I think, for anyone who has not yet heard the bit. But I won't do it here. That's
so
for the
cool.
post show.
So cool. And last but certainly not least, we have joining us again our current special guest, Darby Cupid.
Well, thank you so much for having me. And as we saw in the last episode, this girl is on fire.
Oh, Jesus. Oh, my God.
Anymore, she isn't. Thank you.
Oh, my God.
My word, Tarrant.
All right, that's the show for tonight, ladies and gentlemen. We'll see you next week. Yikes. Okay. We're gonna have to talk to Darby late. No, I'm kidding. That is
Sir,
actually...
you can't be making jokes.
That is absolutely correct. Yes, that's last time on Call of Cthulhu Masks of Nyarlathotep. That girl was indeed on fire. The past tense because she no longer is. The 1920s Disaster Gang and Terry Gainsborough, who is also here, also have been investigating further into the matters of the Brotherhood of the Black Pharaoh here in England, as well as pursuing some pieces of interest. The gang of Kit, Sunil, Mason, and Tarrant continued to speak at length with the director of the Penhew Foundation, Mr. Edward Gavigan. They handed over the some of the artifacts they brought and to be examined by the Foundation. Sorry, 1 second. They also decided to go on a pub crawl while Sybil and James were having an evening at the Blue Pyramid Club in Soho. Also, Mason Allen decided that pigeons are not real. It was in a surprising and weird turn of events. At the Blue Pyramid Club, Sybil Cordova and her husbando, I don't know why I said it like that, but I just did. It's a night, man. James O'Connell began to ask around and observe the goings on in the club after the very beautiful and mysterious Zara Shafiq let them in as guests. James began to watch the crowds, take note of anybody interesting, noticed that a few patrons were more handsy with the club's belly dancers and others were being allowed to, and he was also approached by one of the dancers who whispered in his ear to meet him by the arches down the street at midnight to meet. Meanwhile, Sybil was just having a great time. And just
Excuse me. She told everyone she was an archaeologist, which is totally true.
totally true. Told them all about like Peru stuff and being like, oh my god, and the Carlisle expedition. Like, oh my, I'm like so into like archaeology. Like, I just love rocks. Like, it's.
I loved her response. Are you an archaeologist? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Are you an archaeologist? I never really read the Bible. So.
You know,
That's
that's less
Aramaic.
egregious to me than I just love archaeology so much. I love rocks.
I just love
I know,
rocks.
thank you. I'm glad you felt the pain from that.
That really fucking hurt.
I'm so sorry. I'm gonna pause the entire goddamn show for a minute just to talk about how much I love the show Community for a second. Because by Darby saying the word Aramaic reminded of me of my favorite joke in all of Community when there is an IT woman who is played by an actress in one season, and then the next season that same actress plays a different character who's trying to find the IT character, and she says in the episode, I've sent emails. It's like I've tried to contact the IT lady. All of my phone calls, like I leave voicemails, and I when I call, I hear like a weird high pitched shriek that makes my head hurt, and all my emails come back to me written in Aramaic. I don't know what's going on.
Something biblical happened.
Yeah,
Community is great.
Community is
Watch
great.
it.
Please watch Community. Anyway, so let's dive into the episode. We're having a great time out here, y'all. We're gonna start tonight. I think by necessity, we're gonna jump back over to the Blue Pyramid Club, because the gang that had a seance. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention that in the recap for everybody. The gang went on a pub crawl, saw a fortune teller's place, had a seance, spoke to the spirit of Jackson Elias, and then their fortune teller burst into flames after her eyes went black and she taunted them in some weird deep voice. Wonder what that's about. So we're gonna jump back over to the Blue Pyramid Club to go back and focus on two of our other members really quickly. Let me transition the music, and you know what time it is. It's Blue Pyramid Club time.
Oh man.
Let's get that. Yeah, there it is, baby. It's a fucking bop, dude.
It's a bop.
So, going back to the Blue Pyramid Club, let us figure out what's going on with Sybil and James. So when we last left you guys off, James, you had just been approached by the dancer who asked you to meet her at the arches at midnight outside. You guys showed up. Like, that's like, I'd say that's like several hours away still, because you guys like showed up at like around like probably like 6 or 7.
Yeah.
Like close to opening. But yeah, so that just happened to you, James. And Sybil, you're just going around just chatting people up.
Yeah, just kind of seeing if discussing the Carlisle exhibition or anything like that strikes anyone's interest. Just trying to get a vibe like, who made this club and why?
And and why, pray tell? No, yeah, and as we established last time,
Money.
you know, you get the mix of people who are just kind of like, sorry, can't
Really?
help you, but could you
Yeah.
use another drink? Versus the people who are like, oh my
Yes.
god, I read about that in the papers. That was crazy. What do you know about? Like, that's wild. Like, do you really think that like it was a native uprising, or do you think it was like, and then insert XYZ conspiracy theory here?
And
like,
of course, Sybil for sure said the conspiracy theory of, oh, definitely something wild. Probably some sort of evil god was involved, but who knows?
I'm like, an evil god? That's again, this is not what any of these people sound like, but there's such a mix of accents here. I'm not gonna even try. It's just been like, oh my god, an evil god? That's crazy. Do you want a drink?
Yes.
Wait. Can you do that again, but as a Londoner?
Oh my god, an evil god. That is absolutely crazy.
Why does that sound like Jarlaxle Bane, Ray?
That did sound like Jarlaxle. What the fuck?
Sound exactly like Nyarlathotep. That's
then
not
I'll try
here.
to. Then I'll
That's
do a
another
different
plan.
voice. I'll be like fucking Abigail from like one of my teachers from college who talk like this. Anyway, so as you guys were asking around, yeah, that's basically the gist though. Is you get like the people who are just like super engaging in you and like and then just being like striking up conversation, like asking you like a million questions and like getting your feedback and like, oh, that's a crazy conspiracy theory, and it was like picking apart. Do you know much about evil gods? Like the rabbit hole goes deep here. And knowing Sybil Cordova, it's a fucking faucet that's just been left on.
Yes, basically. And of
love
course,
that.
none of it is tied to like, you know, shit she actually knows about evil gods. Listen, I was told to be careful, so I'll stick to what I know is true, which is vampires.
Correct. Meanwhile, so James, what are you doing?
Well, I just got a lead, which is more than I was expecting. No, it's not. I was actually expecting to be attacked. But
Expect anything.
Valid.
let's see. Does anybody else in the crowd look seemingly like big-mouthed?
Big mouth, like it's like very talkative.
Yeah, especially like specifically of the groups of people who are like given kind of special attention.
None of them seem particularly talkative outside. Like they very much are a blend of, you know, you got the mix of people who look to be of like Arabic, Egyptian descent, and also white Europeans. But none of them are like on the one hand, they seem to be enjoying the club just as much as anybody else is. I'd say you actually get the opposite. There is one dude, not who's like being handsy, who is seated off by himself, who is just like, he's the opposite of what you're looking for, which makes it stand out to you even still. This guy is so like not interested in anything that's happening in around him, and he seems so inside of himself that it strikes you as different. You spotted him earlier looking around. He was a bald man that seemed to just be kind of like sitting off in a way that suggested he might have some sort of influence around here. Possibly the owner kind of just has that. You've been in your fair share of clubs and bars in your life, and you can kind of spot when a guy owns a joint. He kind of gives you those vibes, but there's something about him that is just like, you can't put your finger on it, but he's visibly like recedes into himself.
Could I roll a psychology roll on him?
Sure.
Just by getting his general demeanor, you know, like
Sure. Why don't you go ahead
seems
and
to
give
be
me a
his deal.
psychology roll? Yeah, please do.
Let's all hope for the best. That sucks.
First, I see 2 rolls.
The first roll is a success. You clicked it twice.
Oh, did I click it twice?
You clicked it
Fucking
twice.
Yeah.
bad.
Yeah.
Let's take the first one.
Well, I mean, yeah. Every time if there's ever a glitch, I'm always gonna take the roll that appears first. I'll take that one as the gospel. Let me just double check something very quickly. Yeah, you on a success. This man is he is this portly, plodding, Egyptian man on the bulkier side, balding hair. His eyes, you've noticed by studying him now, there is a kind of like a dire fear that he has, and his eyes are always darting about, almost as if looking for a tiger that's about to leap onto him at any moment.
Oh, okay, I can work with that. So everybody's festive, everyone's having fun. James is going to, get 2 drinks from the bar and just kind of like doing his best to avoid his direct line of sight as he kind of wanders his way through the crowd, but eventually gets to his table.
Mm-hmm.
Just to make him seem inconspicuous.
Absolutely.
And then he places a drink right next to him to kind of jolt him out of his own head. Hey, buddy, what's with the face? It's a party.
He doesn't actually look to be in his own head at all. So, the second you even get, within, even, shouting distance of him, he clocks you as approaching him and watches you all the way up to you walking, putting the drink in front of him. And he just looks at you and he just says, "Hey, I'm sorry. Can I help you? Is there something you need?"
I was thinking I could help you. You don't seem to be having too much fun.
I don't have fun here. I am the owner. I look after the place to make sure everything is running smoothly.
Well, it seems to be doing just fine. Maybe you can relax a bit.
I appreciate the sentiment, and you are welcome to enjoy the amenities as well, but I very much know how to run my own club. Thank you very much.
Apologies, my friend. And he reaches out a hand as a general kind of welcoming aura to it.
He looks at your hand for a moment, before eventually leaning forward to just briefly shake it, and he just goes, "Abdul Nuisha."
James O'Connell.
Well, Mr. O'Connell, I appreciate the sentiment, but I am a very busy man. If you would not mind leaving me to my own affairs.
Hey, fair enough. I just wanted to make sure you were doing okay over here.
I appreciate that, but I am all right, yes.
Right.
And I'm going to say that just because you had a successful psychology roll earlier, this does still carry over. Yeah, no, this guy is still very much, even more so now that he's talking to you, is just full of a dire fear, and his eyes constantly just flick around, but does not betray that in his actual words to you, even though you can still read it plain on his face. But he says, "If you don't mind," just gestures out to the crowd.
He just brings his hands up, drinking one of them, just absolutely, I'll go ahead and leave you to your work, but hey, this is a very lovely place you have here, and if anyone gives you any trouble, let me know. I'll be happy to help.
I appreciate that. However, Mr. O'Connell, he points to the bouncers around the ballroom. I do have this covered.
Let's hope so.
Immediately turns away from you to signify that he's done talking.
Yeah, with that, he's gonna back up because there's something there, but probably not something he wants to be involved in yet.
F.
F.
He's had a couple drinks. He hasn't had too many drinks. I was seconds from fucking contacting the council.
Oh, brain.
Stepping away from where Abdul Nawisha was sitting, like turn back into the crowd. You see that your wife is not too far off, socializing it up. Your eyes go back across the room. You see that Zara Shafiq is still sitting off by herself, just kind of having a drink, lounging in a chair, and just seeming to just be taking in the atmosphere like someone who's so comfortable here.
Not really watching us though.
Not that you can tell.
Well, that might be a role I would want to do as well. If that's
You know what? Give me a
thing
spot
I
hidden
can
roll.
do. Yeah, let's give that a go. Let's give that a quick little go.
Staring at you with binoculars. I wonder what that James is doing.
I wonder what that properly shaped gentleman is doing over there.
He was just speaking to you.
Where did his wife go?
Hard success. You've been like you've been occasionally looking back at Zara Shafiq a few times now to see if she is watching you or keeping a particular focus on you guys. And like when you go back to look at her now, she's still very much like enjoying the vibe, doesn't seem to be spying on you. However, you do notice that she's not looking at you, and she doesn't seem to. I mean, she seems very calm and carefree. There are at this point, you've noticed several other people in this club who do occasionally look at you and just seem to like watch you from across the room before going back to their own business. There's more than a few people doing that, but it just kind of a random smatter of people who are occasionally at any given point watching you and Sybil.
All those people, that random splatter. Do they happen to line up with the people who are getting somewhat special treatment?
Oh, almost exactly.
Aha! I see. Now I understand the fear. Okay. He's going to casually make his way back to our wonderful host who invited us in.
Yeah, you can say her name. It's fine. You can do it.
You're an asshole. You're an absolute
What's her
dick.
name? What's her name?
Zahara.
Zara. Very close. I'll give you a brownie point for that. Zara.
Very
Zara
very
Shafiq.
close.
Zara Shafiq.
Shafiq was the one that I could say, but you never don't say the first name.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because then you just sound more like an asshole. It's like, yes, we're gonna go see Shafiq over here.
God. So great. You walk back over. Are you just by yourself, or are you looking to rope Sybil into this as well?
He's going to, like, as he passes Sybil, he's going to kind of like give a gesture, a wave of just like, I'm going over here.
Okay.
But like he's ultimately letting her have some fun. He already let her off the leash. Let her enjoy it.
For sure, for sure.
But the pretty lady.
So you walk back over to the table with Zara Shafiq.
Hey,
Who
your
when you
husband's going to the pretty lady.
yes when you get to her table, she does that kind of like lazy glance at you thing, like from the side eye as you approach. Kind of finishes her drink a little bit, sits it down, and leans back in her chair, and just gives you a faint smile and just goes, "How are you finding the club?"
Quick question.
Yeah.
The owner did not accept that drink, correct?
Yeah, turned it down. He was like, "No, thank you."
Puts it in front of her instead.
Oh.
Sits
What is
down.
the occasion?
You let us in, and we're having a great time.
I'm
Thank
very
you very
glad to
much.
hear that. I suppose this can be considered an adequate repayment for my generosity. I accept it, Mr. O'Connell.
Only adequate? Is there a way to
She
improve
gives
that?
She and she doesn't respond vocally, but she gives you like the kind of like raises the glass to her lips and gives you a little eyebrow quirk and just smiles mischievously, but takes a drink, sets it down. I suppose that since you're from America, you're not particularly used to clubs of this nature legally.
Unfortunately, no. Though you should see some of the places that I've been in.
I'm sure you've seen a very colorful assortment of places.
It's a lot more fun being in a place where everybody knows they're not supposed to be doing it.
I suppose that is very true. Very true indeed. Well, how is your wife taking to the club? I see she's very much the social butterfly, pointing over in the direction of like the crowd Sybil has gathered.
Just like
James kind of like lazily, puts elbow on table, cheek in hand, watches as his wife does all of the socialite shit she always does, glances back at her. She's having a wonderful time.
I'm very glad to hear that. Have you, if I might ask, since you were in the shop earlier, have you made that pork stew you bought some spices for yet? Or are you holding that for a more special occasion?
The unfortunate thing is we're staying at a hotel at the moment.
I see.
Yeah, so just walking into there, I'd have to pay them to walk into their kitchen and start cooking my own food.
That is fair. Yes, I suppose. Well, it'll have to wait until you have a better moment. But with what you bought from my store, your friends are going to be very lucky what you're going to cook for them. It will be delicious, I am sure.
Trust me.
If I ate pork,
Trust me,
I would
they
happily
are.
try some myself.
Oh, next time I'm around, I'll be sure to make something a little more culturally sensitive.
She chuckles and she holds up a little hand. She says, no, it is most okay. Don't worry about it. My shop caters to all sorts of people throughout London, and I am happy with whatever purposes they are looking to cook with. I do not know the extent of many things myself, but I do like to make sure I know what best pairs with what. For the amateur crowds, at the very least.
Well, you do a very good job, and I admire the dedication to your work, but what I'm saying is, if I'm going to make something for you, which hopefully next time I'm in London, or who knows, depending on how long I'm here, I'd be happy to.
Well, I'll tell you what, Mr. O'Connell. I'm going to put you and Sybil's names on the guest registry as just kind of a between you and me. I like you and your wife very much, and you're welcome to come to the Blue Pyramid anytime you want, even if I'm not here. I'm not here all the time. I occasionally do like to go other places and spend my time doing many things.
I appreciate that, I really do.
Well, she just kind of like looks at you and then just says, so are you done? Or are you just looking to get involved with something else tonight? You look like you're not a man who dances exactly.
Give me a minute on that one. That was funny.
We learned this in Avernus. The second you turn your back, she's gonna stab you in the stomach. That's it, you're gonna die.
Shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up. Don't you remind me.
James is gonna
Of
get stabbed
other
in the same
planes.
place as Dell.
Just remember, if she invites you to weird cult sex, you have to also invite your wife.
Sybil's gonna get stabbed too.
I'm the one who needs to tell you that. Okay. James leans back in his seat, brings an elbow up against it, drink in hand, takes a sip, watching her kind of. Can I get a psychology check on her actually? While I'm
For
doing
what specifically are you trying to psychology?
Very basic ulterior motive, in the sense of like not just trying to fuck.
Oh, I see. Give me 1 second. Yes, with that niche narrowed down.
With that niche kind of. Because I'm sure there's some form of ulterior. There's many an ulterior motive that can be gone along with that statement, but I'm looking for possible trap material here.
Sure. You can give me a psychology roll, and also real quick, because it was talked about last week. Although I'll remind you, since you may just seeing if you ran, that you guys did say like, oh, there are things we could ask Zara when we see her at the club. Is that still a thing you want to do? Is ask her the things you guys talked about last week? Because just want to make sure if you guys forgot about that to remind you.
I approach the council. Because I don't fucking remember.
Okay, so on the list we had asking about the Brotherhood of the Black Pharaoh. She's done work with the Penhew Foundation. We could ask about that. Ask about the Carlisle expedition. Those are all options. We also, have a mysterious note with an upside down Ankh on it in black, which is, threatening. I was already considering having Sybil ask people about it, but I was waiting to check with the Brain Council before Sybil just went, so I think we're being targeted by a cult, and I'm not scared for my life, but maybe I should be.
Okay. I might come back and have you remind me on that again. If not, write that in call real quick. But let me go ahead and roll that psychology.
Go for it. You
Boom.
don't read any ulterior motive from Zara.
Maybe you won't get stabbed.
Maybe I won't get
Just
stabbed.
an innocent booty call.
It definitely it's definitely more playful. She's very playful with you, but you're not reading an ulterior motive oh yes, I'm going to take you into the back room and stab you.
Yeah. So she just kind of asked if I was done in this conversation, basically. But yeah, James does his whole thing and replies, well, not yet. Oh, I got some places to be, probably around late-ish. Way later than right now.
Very fair. There are many places to be and things to do in London.
Mm-hmm. However, I do have a solid, looks at non-existent watch, 6 hours.
No, it's definitely, yeah, you got probably closer to 4 at this point, because you guys were socializing and just hanging out for a while.
Yeah, we've been here for an hour or two, probably.
Then I said 4.
There you go. Well then, what's on your mind?
Well, you invited us in, you shared we shared a fun time collecting spices, and honestly, I
Mr.
barely
Alcano,
asked you
are
about
you-
yourself.
Are you suggesting that I am on your mind?
In a roundabout way, I suppose you could say that.
I am flattered. Little old me, who would have thought?
Oh, who would have thought? It's not like my own wife hasn't been giving you bedroom eyes since the second she saw you.
She does. She puts both of her elbows on the table and leans forward and just kind of, hands under the chin, blinks at you, and then just says, "Well, what do you want to know about little old me?"
Anything. What do you do in your spare time? What do you, other than this? How is life in your daily?
I wish I could say it was more eventful than it is, but most of my time is spent running Empire Spices. Some nights I stop by at the Blue Pyramid after closing. Other nights I stay in. I do not lead the most interesting life, unfortunately. Sometimes, of course, there are things I like to do every so often, but I don't consider this a routine. I like to say I like to chase what I want.
Darby. Listen. I'm gonna say that James has had a few drinks by this point.
Oh,
So,
no shit? Okay.
Yep. So he's taking that fully how one would expect. And he just returns that with a smile. Well, not very often, not so much a routine, but would that happen to be one of these nights?
Like I said, I tend to come to the Blue Pyramid most of the time. Some nights I stay in. Again, I don't do much. Occasionally, I help out where I can in matters that concern me.
I don't suppose I could pry. Could I?
You could certainly try, but it might not be interesting. Depends on what you pry with. I'm watching
mind
Kristen's face turn like a very delightful shade of pink. It's great. Like
It's wonderful.
A part of me is like, I wish Sybil were over there. I'm like, oh, but Sybil would just be a flustered mess at this point.
Which Zara might find endearing.
I know. Don't get me at this one thing. Sybil's just like,
Is Sybil watching this happen?
yes. At this point, I think she's like, should I go over there?
If I don't go over there
Well-
now, I'll miss out.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing for you to consider, Kristen. Her husband went from like paying attention to absolutely enraptured. So
I mean, she don't care. She's not worried about that.
That's not my point. My point is that there's no one to signal to.
That's true.
It's all Sybil right now.
so, for the sake of brevity, what do you want to pry with Zara? What do you want to ask her?
I don't mind uninteresting. Tell me about it.
She does. This is the keeper saying, if you want answers, you got to be specific with things. If you want things, I'm not
Goddamn.
going to just sit here and monologue for like 30 minutes. The story of Zara's life.
give me the whole.
You can tell. Here's what we'll say. You can tell me if you want to pry.
Actually, let me try to word, because I'm trying to word things correctly.
Sure.
So I don't come across overly fucking suspicious and that I'm prying into her life in an investigative way. But I'm gonna say this: when she says maybe won't be that interesting, James, it's like uninteresting. What, like school?
No, I did not attend school growing up. I learned what I could where I can, but I did not go to learned as any other child growing up in the more poorer regions of Egypt, but I do like to, I do know how to learn pretty quickly. I have done my own fair share of reading over time to catch up on the things I missed in my home country.
Honestly, we've been doing a bit of a reading in that kind of respect ourselves lately. Suppose that's what attracted us to this club in particular, Pyramid in the name.
Is that right? How so?
Ah, well. Lately, we've been doing a little bit of what I'm not very used to this kind of lifestyle, but my wife very much is, in fact, of the richer blood.
Really? I could not tell.
And well, she happened to have found herself fairly interested in a certain expedition.
Oh, there are many expeditions. I assume because you brought up the pyramid, she is a amateur Egyptologist.
A bit like that. Egyptologist, archaeologist, any ologist that she'll tell somebody to make them smile and think.
Well, I'm not sure how much you keep up with the current, I suppose, community, but Egypt is a very popular place for expeditions these days. Plenty of people going there to dig up remnants of the past.
Oh, very much so. Right now, her current obsession would be the Carlisle expedition.
Carlisle expedition, that was 1919, right?
I believe so.
Funny you mention that. I did. Carlisle, I've interacted with a few expeditions in my time. Carlisle was one of them. I remember this back in 1919. Oh.
Is that so?
Well, they were in London for a short time. I've done work for the Penhew Foundation, and I didn't really establish any relationships with them. Can't recall any details in particular, but the name certainly left an impression, and so too did the news. A terrible event.
I can't ride that last psychology check and say that I've been like reading her.
Yeah, no, I'm holding that for the whole conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Is she genuine?
yeah.
Right now?
Yeah, she appears to be absolutely.
Okay. Uh. So you've worked with the Penhew Foundation?
I assisted on a few occasions. Mostly when it comes to expedition preparations, briefings on the climate, local customs, that kind of thing. Arrange introductions with, you know, with people in Cairo. You know, before they head out. Very little things, but I am, as a spice merchant from Egypt, I am pretty decently connected to helpful individuals. So I have helped with briefings and before.
Interesting.
Are you familiar with the Penhew Foundation, Mr. O'Connell?
A bit.
Hmm.
Not really as much as my wife would be, but
Oh, she's familiar with the Penhew Foundation.
in a sense, yes.
I see.
She's done a lot of research in her time.
Well, that's very
And-
interesting. I would love to pick her brain about the sort of research she does, being not an academic myself, but one who is very much proud of her heritage. I always like to hear what people think of Egypt, especially those who travel so far to find it. This entire time, she's been running one finger on the rim of her glass.
Personally, I find the place fairly fascinating.
In what
But-
way?
Well, in the way that it's just very different from my own. Though, in my time, I suppose a lot of things would be very different from me.
I suppose, yes. Again, so once again, for the sake of brevity, anything else you want to ask her before we cut away?
Jesus, fucking, I'm holding on by a thread, guys. Let me check that in call real quick. Carlisle Expedition, Penhew Foundation, and oh right, yes, so culty stuff.
I will say that well, then again, are you still consulting the community on such a topic, or
Yes.
okay? When it comes to the Ankh specific, when it comes to the Ankh specifically that we got sent, I'm kind of afraid of making it like of just showing the thing around, but
Yeah, I was
like maybe playing dumb about the cult, but not showing, hey, we actually got
Yeah.
a threat.
Yeah, I'm kind of thinking the same thing, but also like, where else are we gonna ask? Like they are in dangerous
hey,
territory.
the most
but-
interesting thing happened while we were doing all this research.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's a
Anybody
huge
else
risk
got?
for sure.
I mean, I think just sort of playing it off like you're dumb might be the way to
I'm really good at that.
Yeah. So, because
Alright.
if you don't ask, I was planning on having Sybil just sort of do some general. This is weird. I'm really been really into this thing called the Black. the Black Pharaoh
Sybil
recently.
Cordova poking her head in and being like, "Cult shit."
Cult
Yep.
shit.
Yeah, I just wanted to
Basically.
like throw the like, hey, we got to talk about this thing, but like how you go about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. I was starting to drag for a minute there just because I was failing to remember what else I had to ask.
Yeah, we wrote a handy dandy list for you in call. There you
Oh,
go.
my notebook. But yeah, so getting back into it, let's hit some cult shit. But yeah, so he goes on. He's like, yeah, a lot of things are very different there. Like, well, for one, it's not all Christian, or in a sense.
It is very much not. That is an astute observation you have just made.
My wife, much as she really enjoys normal history, ancient history, all that kind of thing, she's very, macabre in a sense.
She likes the occult.
She very much likes the occult.
I cannot blame her. The occult is very much a fashionable thing to be into these days for many women of her age and wealth.
You don't have to tell me twice. We have a coyote skull on our mantle.
Oh, that is very interesting.
She calls it Steve. But
Are you
anyway.
talking about Steve?
I am talking about Steve.
Oh, he's the best. Steve and Carl and Urkel. I have a skull collection.
Welcome to the conversation. Go ahead and sit
Hello.
down.
Welcome back, Miss Cordova. We were just, I think, wrapping up our conversations. Your husband has been a delight to talk to.
Mm-hmm.
There was one last thing. It was the darndest thing. You might find this interesting.
Oh?
Whilst looking into all of this Carlisle stuff that, Sybil, you really are very interested in. The other day we had a letter. Well, a note, in a sense, delivered to us by the hotel. Said they didn't know who from. The letter didn't have any...
What sort of letter was this? You beat around the bush a lot, Mr. O'Connell.
I apologize. He raises his glass. It was an African symbol, Egyptian, I think. I think the term is an Ankh.
An Ankh, yes, it's the Egyptian symbol of life. Very popular symbol. Strange that you got it sent to you.
That is unfortunate, because it was upside down.
How do you know it was upside down if it was in a letter?
Well, that's how it was handed to us.
It's fine. My
Yeah.
players are allowed to laugh on mic. They're allowed to laugh on mic. They're being respectful, but they're allowed to laugh. That was a good dig. That was a
I
good dig.
specifically unmuted so you can hear me laugh, sir. I was like, no, someone needs to acknowledge this. The chat can't see Xander's shit-eating grin. Someone needs to.
May I?
Yeah, please.
Can I explain this the way that I was going to explain it away the last time we talked about this?
You don't have to do it in the moment. Yeah, all jokes aside. So, like, with the conversation, she says, "An upside down ankh. That does not bode well, I would suppose. That might be an inverted ankh would suggest a perversion of its of its meaning. So, that is not very nice to have sent to you."
I suppose not.
Well, she kind of like looks at you, just being like, "Well, like."
So I don't suppose you've ever encountered anything like that. We are new to this whole scene.
I mean, an upside down ankh. It's such a small little detail. You'll have to forgive me if I cannot give you exact meanings as to what it might entail. It's...
She's gotta know about it.
Well, I still have that psychology check going, so if she's hiding information, I'm pretty sure I'd be told.
Depends on the level of success needed.
Well, that's a hard success one, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
It's not an extreme success.
What's up, Alice?
If I may make a suggestion, I mean, you could try and ask her if she's heard of anything like that being sent to other people before, or if she would have an idea of, who would send something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Does seem rather odd, and she's in touch with the community here, so just a suggestion. Yeah.
No, it's a good idea.
Thank you, Brain Sullivan.
So you asked that specifically?
Yeah, pretty much.
She shrugs and she says, "I don't know. I mean, I suppose if you got on the wrong side of some of the Egyptians, they might possibly utilize that as a threat, but I'm not... That is so... First of all, you do not strike me as the sort of people who have gotten on the bad side of anybody in town yet.
I certainly hope not.
That's what we thought.
You're both very nice, wonderful people, and I cannot imagine anyone would want to send that to you as a threat because of some slight you've done to them. But beyond a disgruntled Egyptian, I cannot, without any certainty, I cannot say what that might be related to.
Well, that's unfortunate.
All right.
I suppose we'll just have to be a little more careful.
It's never too. One can never watch one's back too closely. Just make sure that. I just want to make sure that you and your wife are safe. That is, at least at the very end of the day, the least a husband should do.
James kind of drops a little bit of the facade for a moment as she says that, and looks around, his eyes darting to a few specific clicks. Looks back at her. No, of course not. You're absolutely right.
Yeah. I only tend to stop in for a drink or two. I think I'm going to call it an evening early, but please stay. You are welcome here. I will tell the bouncer that you are my guests, even when I am not here. You are welcome to partake in as much partying as you want. If you want to stop by Empire Spices again, I'd be more than happy to talk if you have anything you want to talk about. Or if you're ever here again and I see you, well, I expect it's lovely company again.
Oh, absolutely. You have been wonderful.
Thank you so much. This has been delightful.
Of course, of course. And Zara gets up and walks away. We're gonna jump over to the other group now because they need some attention. Yay! So, let's go. No, you're good, dude.
Don't apologize. Don't apologize.
So, let's talk about what happened after the events at the seance. Kit Sullivan being able to narrowly save this woman's life, but she is severely burned. Aid is called so to get her taken to an actual proper like hospital for medical attention to be treated for the burn she received. A constable probably questioned you guys about what happened. Is there a particular story you're weaving here, or?
I mean, it could have been anything. There are so many candles lit and things like that. It just happened so suddenly. Which it did.
Yeah, which it did. And you know, and this is actually one of those things, like, this is not too difficult because she is like alive and you guys call medical help and like you're a doctor and like I think the constable is not going to be like arrested, just getting like just asking what happened, and you get by his assumptions this woman in a place full of candles with as many curtains as there are, and the fact that she was in a big flowery puffy Victorian dress, he's just like yeah, like this constable does not latch on anything in particular, just like, all right. He's like, well, thank you for your testimony, I'll be sure to report that back, and thank you for phoning it in. I'm sure that when she makes a recovery she'll be more than thankful. But you folks have a good night and get home safe.
Thank you.
But after the events are resolved, you are all left back together as a group, now back on the dark streets of London.
Okay, so we're not in the hospital with...
No, I mean, I figured you guys weren't going to go to the hospital to, like, look over her, yeah.
Okay,
No.
cool.
Yeah,
This
no.
might seem arbitrary, but what time is it?
I think we said it was
ballpark.
probably around, like, I think it was around, like, 11 p.m. when we established that this is when you guys were going into the parlor.
Fuck.
God, Kit's just like on the fucking stoop of her home. I presume there are like a few stairs or something leading up.
Yeah.
Just sitting there, head in hands, just.
Is this the
Well.
first time you've been contacted by Mr. Elias?
Sorry. What a question. Kind of absurd, but I mean, what isn't absurd when it comes down to it? But no, I mean, yes, this is the first time. We've been contacted by a dead man.
He talked about the end of the world. That they're gonna open a gate.
It's
That was
a lot of talk of many names, many faces that they're going to. They won't stop, etc. Hmm. And well, if you're told something about the beyond by a dead man, what are you meant to expect?
that had to have been him, right?
I mean, who else could it be? How else could that have happened? There's no way that she could have known what we were going through.
Yeah,
I see no
you're
reason
right.
for the dead to lie.
It
Good
was too
line,
much.
Darby. That's a good line. I want to call that out. Good fucking line. I see no reason for the dead to lie. Fuck, that hits different. Anyway,
It's fucking metal.
continue.
It was too much like him to be otherwise.
He asked about his pipe. He knew us. There's no way that couldn't have been Jackson. I just, God, I can't imagine what he's going through at the moment.
I am something that I want to. There was a different voice in there, and it mentioned us by name. I didn't recognize it at all.
No, I did.
Yeah, I did too.
He, or whatever it was, had Larkin by the scruff. And when I killed Larkin, he left his body. He was possessed. I can only assume whoever this was responsible. Or is actively responsible. Maybe a deity of some kind, I'm not entirely sure. But we beat him before.
Obviously not.
It's clearly not benevolent.
So, Peru never lies low, I guess. He kind of surveys the faces of everyone like, this is part of that thing. I see.
If what Jackson said was true, many names, many faces, what's the connection between them, between the Karasiri, between everything else that's the Cult of the Bloody Tongue, between what is the thread that ties them together? Because it can't be a coincidence. I think I'm done believing in coincidences at this point.
I think that's a fair assessment.
All right. This phrase has been pinging in my head all day. I'm thinking back to the director at the Penny Foundation, who the person controlling me has forgot their name, but
Edward Gavigan.
Thank you.
Yep.
Gavigan mentioned that the thing that brings cults together specifically is ideals, beliefs, those kinds of things, a collection of people who all, considering that some form of supernatural thing, along with those who are following through with the the methods of those things. So some sort of human connection, and then you have, which really, why would a supernatural being need a cult unless there is something that is going on? But what is connecting the cults themselves? What is, because this has to be some sort of more. How aware of each other are they? That's the other question. How aware of the big question are these smaller cults? Is there some way that we could get that? Because I don't think you can ever find something like that in just a library.
Very true. Well, the cults we've heard of so far, well, apart from what happened in Peru, seem to have had origins in Africa at least, so there's that to start with. But as for what you said about why someone or something would need a cult, I mean, I guess they have to do something that whatever it is can't.
Is this something I could do an occult roll on, just as a general kind of knowledge thing to share?
Why would a supernatural entity need a cult? I mean, sure, give me an idea roll. This is just your intelligence check.
Idea. Okay.
Yeah.
Where's that? Where's idea?
It's intelligence. You just roll the intelligence ability. Yep.
There we go.
Hey. So you're new to still relatively in the eyes of time, new to the idea of the supernatural being a tangible thing going on in your life. But I mean, like, it could be multiple reasons. I mean, like, why do gods need worshippers in the first place? Like, it opens like the philosophical question of like, oh, do gods need worshippers? Is that like part of their existence? There's the whole philosophical quandary of, can God exist if no one believes in God? The whole that kind of stuff. But then it could also, if you're thinking on more of like a kind of like rooting through your archaeological studies and going through like different cultures, thinking like, well, I mean, in some folklores, and this could be an answer, I mean, the gods have mortal instruments to enact their will because they can't do things directly themselves. I mean, it varies, obviously in some interpretations, but that's a possible explanation. It's like, oh, if maybe that they need a cult and they need to have mortals do it because for whatever reasons they can't, or it's easier to have, folly to cannon fodder to accomplish things for your own ends. I mean, who can speculate on the motives of a fucking god, but like, this kind of stuff occurs. These lines of thought have been, have come up before in philosophical quandaries and folklore and stuff like that.
Okay. Yeah.
It's like, the fucking, like, Mayans, going all the way back to the Mayans who, like, thought that they could, like, postpone the end of the world through sacrifice and stuff like that, So it's just, like, there might be some kind of grander mortal connection, like, yeah. It's hard to say, but those are the ideas you do come up with.
All right, is that something you'd like me to voice, or is that just kind of a
we
given?
We can just say that you share that line of thought with everybody. Yeah. No.
Perfect.
Well, even along those lines, actually, especially along those lines, secondarily, there's some sort of, I don't remember the exact wording, but there was a sort of passing through. Was it a gate, a barrier, just something? Something was mentioned about. I don't remember the exact wording. I don't remember what he said.
Gate, something along the lines of opening a gate, and then that's the end, and then through which they'll come and claim their precious dark little prize.
Okay, that's another question on the docket. Then what is the prize? What would they be looking for? Why would it be described as a dark little prize? I'm sorry, I'm just.
You're fine. I think maybe the world is all I can think of.
That seems so small.
Maybe.
What I find interesting is it with these dispersed cults, they all seem to... These gods that they speak of, they all seem to require human intervention to... It's some sort of conduit to make it over to our side.
You know what? I just remembered something that I think actually would be directly applicable to Tarrant, Mason, and Kit, having been to Peru and what they experienced in Peru. For us in the minds of the players was so fucking long ago, and it just took Darby saying what he just said for me to be like, actually, this directly harkens back to a thing. I'm going to say that this is an extension of your idea check as you kind of explain your line of thought, and then you're talking about this a little bit more, and you go, wait a second, back in Peru, your benefactor, Augustus Larkin, like, you got the pyramid you guys found out in, like, the Peruvian mountains had that, like, golden, like, band underneath the ground that seemed to have been, like, according to the folklore, a protective ward that prevented evil forces from, like, getting in there and fucking with it. And you do remember explicitly, Augustus Larkin couldn't go down there, and neither could Luis de Mendoza, his vampiric servant. And he specifically wanted you guys to rip out more of the ward and do that. And it was only after you put the missing bit of the temple ward back that all of the vampires died. It is a possible, since you've experienced that line of thought, that another reason why, going on to that one train of thought, it's like, why would a god need a mortal to do this? Maybe there are things in place that are preventing the forces of evil from doing things themselves. Like, maybe there's some kind of great supernatural ward that prevents, a malevolent force or such as that from directly doing what they need to do. So they need people who are unaffected to do their bidding for them. That's definitely a strong thing that just hits a chord with you.
Right on.
Yeah. Or with the whole Peru group, I should say. The Perup, anyway.
Now
yeah. And that's something you all relay and talk about. Because that is very much
Sunil dying and lack of information. Yeah. Sorry. I just
my mouse cursor just disappeared. Oh, now it's back. That was so weird. I was like, what happened? Like, could not find anything.
Happens to me too. Sometimes I move it too fast, and then I'm like, where'd it go?
Yeah.
Where'd it go?
All right, that means the forces that be have some weakness right now. Probably hard to come by, but yet even still, these are big ideas to think of as small. Sorry, you just occasionally think about the fact that you're just a small being on a large planet, and things probably bigger than that planet. Anyway,
try not to think about that emphatically, actually.
On some level comforting, on another level absolutely not comforting at all. Right, so some form of anything exists. I lost my train of thought.
Well, with all this speculation currently happening, are you guys still sitting down, or are you walking back to the hotel? Just so we establish.
Yeah, that sounds like.
Probably heading back at this point.
Bar crawl over.
Yeah, too sober now.
The mood is thoroughly soured. Like,
hey, are we still being followed? Like, did the people just like set up shop whenever we went inside the building and just?
I'm going to say no for the time being, but don't worry, Jordan. I'll call for a spot hidden check when I want you to make one.
Well, I'm gonna keep making spot hidden checks because who knows when it happens.
I'm a fair keeper. I'm a fair keeper, but for now, you're fine. You're fine.
That's almost worse than you asking him to make one.
That doesn't make me feel better.
It shouldn't. It absolutely shouldn't.
I love you so much.
This is a horror game, my dude. I love it. No,
God.
yeah.
Neil know about the Peru trip as far as like the vampires and all that?
He's been pretty much filled in on the on like anything that anyone would have immediately remembered.
Perfect.
Like so basically pretend as though Sunil knows most things unless it's super specific. So
all right, cool. Yeah, well that's fun. Okay. I got something then.
His lovely fiance has filled him in on most of the Yeah.
Time to explain part of my PTSD to you.
Hey. Well, that sounds like it sucks.
Yeah.
Pun both un and completely intended. Continue, sorry.
So, Mr. Pandey, I assume by now that you have been filled in on our adventures in Peru.
It's it's not only come up more than once, but yes, I've been told most of what went on from.
That we essentially had to disrupt a barrier of sorts to let these, I can't think of another word, vampires into this pyramid area.
Yes. There's
Well,
again.
this may sound superstitious, ridiculous. I don't care at this point, but we all grew up hearing all the fairy tales of a vampire can't enter your abode without being invited in first. Now we know that vampires and the like are, in fact, more real than we had thought. What if these cosmic beings act somewhat in the same way, where they need our permission, human beings' permission, to enter our world?
So I'm making this physical gesture. I need to make you aware that he's also making this physical gesture. I don't know if this is an anachronism or not. He basically puts his finger on his nose and then kind of like points it at you a little bit, as in he's kind of like,
Gotcha.
he's like, no, same, like similar thought. Slight difference in the sense of like, and I'm not going to explain this in the accent because I forgot how to word, but there's a slight difference, and he's just like, he's not sure that they need human permission, but they do need human interference to some extent.
Cool.
That's what he's thinking, and he's also thinking if a ward exists, that means that there are in fact forces that can go against such strong forces, which means they are not at their most powerful. However, if they were to get through whatever gate, Jackson, we're talking about, we're fucked.
Okay.
Oh, that makes perfect. Tarrant, we didn't tell you about.
Yes.
He found Peter Haas in America, or rather, he found us. You remember him, our lovely German quartermaster for the trip.
Yes.
No,
yes,
what you said made
Peter.
me recall. He talked about, you remember the mask, the golden mask? Well, he had it. He talked about how there was a worm in his brain trying to get him to do things, and then we recovered other artifacts from the cult of the bloody tongue. I mean, if there are certain things that can be used as footholds into our world, I mean, maybe that's, I don't know.
Okay. You said the word foothold into our world, and I had about a good. Sorry, So I had three thoughts at once, and if I may be allowed to go down the line, first thought, that explains why there are plenty of supernatural items. Imbue them with supernatural whatever. That is one possibility. Two, people with supernatural abilities, aka Mr. Makunga, if we were to go back to a certain extent. Three, not to speak the man's unholy name, but Mr. Goodman using us as vessels at some point.
And he would have been brought in because he was working, he had some sort of thing going on with Suarez. They seem to be working together in some way, so
Similarly, these people have also, to a certain extent, succumbed to some sort of madness. It's there's a lot going on in the good old saucepan of a brain at this point.
The old Panday Pan.
Listen, my homestuck self is trying not to say think pan so hard.
You said it though, and it's there.
The good old think pan day.
Can I run like an idea check to see if Mason can connect any dots about for like the information that we're gathering, tying it back to Peru? Because I had a couple of thoughts in mind of like, so let's consider that, this is only one deity, many names, many faces, because he covers an umbrella. Other deities don't match. Okay, go ahead.
I was gonna say, no, to answer your question, I'm not gonna have you make an idea roll, only because I think the extent of what you could connect has already been connected, but I will remind you of it because you're asking. So let's see. Let's go back to Peru for a second. Augustus Larkin had a weird tattoo on his chest. You later connected the symbol that he had tattooed on his chest with the symbol related to the bloody tongue. Augustus Larkin was from. He lived in England. Jackson Elias originally started his trip after the whole Path of Perdition arc to go backtrack what was going on with Larkin, because fucking Jackson pocketed Larkin's notebook, so like was tracking what was going on. He went to like Kenya to find out more information about, like, he was getting on the trail of Augustus Larkin, and then through investigating that ended up selling on the Carlisle expedition. You don't yet know what the connections are between Larkin and Carlisle. What there are the connections you've established so far, which is Larkin was probably involved with the bloody tongue somehow. Larkin was possessed by something. There are gaps where you're like, okay, we don't know what these connections are yet, but the main through line here is that very strong connection of that's where where these 2 points meet of these otherwise independent storylines.
Yeah, maybe not the bloody tongue, but like, because you said he lives in London, like London's equivalent. Because you mentioned that the symbol on Jackson's head was similar, but it was different, kind of like similar to like the many names, many faces kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, like,
if I kept that in mind, like, should we start?
Jackson, based on what you've read, because the tattoo Larkin had was like a tentacle like spiraling like shape that emerged out of the neck of some being, and the readings you have is that the god of the bloody tongue is described as having a long appendage as a head. So that tattoo was probably a symbol. It's not the exact same symbol, but it was an African symbol depicting the bloody tongue that was tattooed on his chest. So that there was a direct connection there. But beyond that, like, the other wider connections you don't know yet, but those are the connections you've definitely already made in the storyline, and how they connect to like all like the same god, still kind of up in the air. You have not yet dug up enough information. You're still very much in the infancy of this knowledge to have any more ideas connecting the nodes yet, but more investigation means you might get some more idea checks on the line, and that just kind of goes for everybody at this point, because like you're kind of getting to that point where it's just like, what do? I will say right now, by the way, just to my players, there is a difference between idea checks for like, hey, is there a connection I'm missing here that we saw that I can make an idea check for? There's that. There's also you're always welcome to ask me to an idea check if you're like, I don't know what to do right now. I'm stumped. What do you suggest, cool, benevolent God in the sky? That I can also be like, have you tried this? Like, I'll happily nudge you if you ever feel lost. But in terms of connecting dots, it's probably the best you're at right now and capable of, given what information you've possessed.
Cool.
So, God, I'm sorry. Like, we got information, and then I kind of went down the information hole of what's an assumption, what's something that you can actually like infer. What's a hypothesis? But sorry,
No, you're fine.
Why am I apologizing? I am literally trying to do the mystery part of the mystery game.
I am going to say that you guys have made it back to your hotel now.
Cool. Thank you.
I mean, we do have a few, well, at least one other name we could look into. When Sybil went to go meet with that professor, what was it? Cowles. Jackson attended his lecture up at I think, yeah, up in Massachusetts. What was it? The Sandbat cult, and that was a Polynesian thing, but you know, that's still another name. Or
Another name.
face.
Australia was also mentioned.
And there's the name that you just learned from the Spirit of Jackson Elias, like last session, which he
Yeah.
said
The
he said the
bloated woman?
words "bloated woman" in relation to the word China.
Very curious about the bloated woman.
Bloated.
I'll make a list.
Yeah.
Kit has had the book out already and it's writing this down.
Yeah.
So we should look into this.
Are you guys going back to your rooms at this point?
Yeah, sure. That sounds fair.
Yeah, I'd say Mason would probably head back to his room at this point. There's not really much else that can be done at the moment.
Mhm.
Though when he does get to his room, first of all, is his door unlocked?
Yes.
Did I lock it before?
Yes.
Housekeeping.
Mason touches the door handle. Oh shit. Turns around and does not go inside. He's like, fuck that. I'm going back.
Just stops and goes, guys. Just goes down.
No, he doesn't say guys. He's
No,
like,
yeah.
oh shit.
Oh, shit.
Turns around, goes back to find Kit, Sunil, and Taryn. My door's unlocked. I locked it before we left. Someone broke into my room.
I want to assume that we're in the hallway. We haven't entered our room
Yeah.
yet. So Kit like holds up a finger and like reaches for the doorknob and tests it.
Unlocked.
Hmm.
Should I go to
Where
ask
did
the front desk if housekeeping has come by?
Might be a good idea. Let's go see if Sybil and James's room is also unlocked.
Where were we keeping the shit that we didn't give to Gavigan?
Thought it was in Sybil and James's room.
Yeah. They probably would have been the ones to hold on to it. Considering Sybil like owns the books and shit and all that sort of
Yeah.
deal.
Okay. Yeah, let's go check out their room. Is their door unlocked?
Interesting.
Boy.
Great. Doesn't cleaning tend to lock the door after them?
Yeah, they tend to all have the keys to the
I mean, leaving it unlocked would be completely unsafe, therefore.
Alright. Let's take a look then.
Is this a push door or a pull door?
It's a hotel door, so it's push.
Yeah, Kit will sort of like take a deep breath, do a 3, 2, 1, turns the knob and sort of like pushes the door open so that like he's still in the
Mason-
hallway but can see inside.
Mason at this point has his hunting knife ready, just in case.
So this description carries over for all of your rooms. All of your rooms. Your rooms have been torn the fuck asunder. Mattresses are ripped open, feathers are everywhere, drawers are thrown around the room. All of your rooms have been thoroughly ransacked, and missing from Sybil and James's room are all of the books and the mask. Now we're gonna go to break. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere as we figure out what the hell happens next.
Fuck.
The Rime of the Ancient Mariner by Samuel Taylor Coleridge. Pod 5. Oh, sleep, It is a gentle thing, beloved from pole to pole. To Mary Queen the praise be given. She sent the gentle sleep from heaven that slid into my soul. The silly buckets on the deck that had so long remained, I dreamt that they were filled with dew, and when I awoke, it rained. My lips were wet, my throat was cold, my garments all were dank. Sure, I had drunken in my dreams, and still my body drank. I moved and could not feel my limbs. I was so light. Almost I thought that I had died in sleep and was a blessed ghost. And soon I heard a roaring wind. It did not come anear, but with its sound it shook the sails that were so thin and sere. The upper sail burst into life, and 100 fire flags sheen. To and fro they were hurried about, and to and fro, and in and out, the wan stars danced between. And the coming wind did roar more loud, and the sails did sigh like sedge, and the rain poured down from one black cloud. The moon was at its edge. The thick black cloud was cleft and still, the moon was at its side. Like water shot from some high crag, the lightning fell with never a jag, a river steep and wide. The loud wind never reached the ship, yet now the ship moved on. Beneath the lightning and the moon, the dead men gave a groan. They groaned, they stirred, they all uprose, nor spake, nor moved their eyes. It had been strange, even in a dream, to have seen those dead men rise. The helmsman steered, the ship moved on, yet never a breeze up blew. The mariners all 'gan work the ropes, where they were wont to do. They raised their limbs like lifeless tools. We were a ghastly crew. The body of my brother's son stood by me, knee to knee. The body and I pulled at one rope, but he said naught to me. I fear thee, ancient mariner. Be calm, thou wedding guest. 'Twas not those souls that fled in pain, which to their causes came again, but a troop of spirits blessed. For when it dawned, they dropped their arms and clustered round the mast. Sweet sounds rose slowly through their mouths and from their bodies passed. Around, around flew each sweet sound, then darted to the sun. Slowly the sounds came back again, now mixed, now one by one. Sometimes a dropping from the sky I heard the skylark sing. Sometimes all little birds that are, how they seem to fill the sea and air with their sweet jargoning. And now 'twas like all instruments, now like a lonely flute, and now it is an angel's song that makes the heavens be mute. It ceased, yet still the sails made on, a pleasant noise till noon, a noise like of a hidden brook in the leafy month of June, that to the sleeping woods all night singeth a quiet tune. Till noon we quietly sailed on, yet never a breeze did breathe. Slowly and smoothly went the ship, moved onward from beneath. Under the keel 9 fathom deep, from the land of mist and snow, the spirit slid, and it was he that made the ship to go. The sails at noon left off their tune, and the ship stood still also. The sun, right above the mast, had fixed her to the ocean, but in a minute she 'gan stir with a short, uneasy motion, backwards and forwards half her length, with a short, uneasy motion. Then, like a pawing horse let go, she made a sudden bound. It flung the blood into my head, and I fell down and was wound. How long in that same fit I lay, I have not to declare, but ere my living life returned, I heard, and in my soul discerned 2 voices in the air. Is it he? Quoth one. Is this the man, by him who died on cross? With his cruel bow he laid full low the harmless albatross. The spirit who bideth by himself in the land of mist and snow, he loved the bird that loved the man who shot him with his bow. The other was a softer voice, as soft as honeydew. Quoth he, "The man hath penance done, and penance more will do."
And welcome back. So I want to jump over. That's weird. All right. Sorry, the Roll20 thing was being weird, but I fixed it. We're gonna jump back over to the Blue Pyramid Club, which, just for the sake of time and you guys not wringing yourselves at being like, how do we pad 4 hours of clubbing? Correct me if I'm wrong. You guys are just hanging at the Blue Pyramid for like the next several hours until like it gets around time, or are you gonna just like leave early? Like, it's up to you as a group.
Oh, no. Why would Sybil leave a club early? Are you mad?
We will only leave the club early if it looks like we should probably leave the club early.
Yeah.
That's actually completely fair. Great. Well, it gets to be close to midnight. The club's open till 1 in the morning, so it's still like busy, and you just hanging out here for long periods of time is not out of place. But James, I assume at this point you did tell Sybil this happened. Great. 1 second.
Wow, she was hitting on you so hard.
Yeah, she was.
This is such a trap.
Yeah, it might be.
She's so
I don't
hot,
know.
though.
She seemed really sincere too, and yet here I am getting information for fucking Jackson's goddamn expedition.
Well, the hour draws close. It's getting to be like 11:50, like 8. Like the clock's ticking, and you get up to go outside and check out to see where this meeting might be. Cool.
Yep.
So you get up from where you just were, walking outside back onto the streets of London. You kind of like look up and down Mirrored Street and see that on the northern end there are these like you spot a series of stone arches at the northern end of Mirrored Street. As you kind of walk over in that direction, you see that there is a figure hiding in the darkness beneath the furthest arch, a slender feminine form who, as you approach, whispers, without making herself very well like seen from the street, just whispers, "Get over here, both of you."
Okay.
Yep, this is it.
Walking into the shadow of the arches, you see the split. This is the dancer that approached you in the club, the 19-year-old slender Egyptian belly dancer who has long flowing hair, very dark eyes, now especially held in shadow. And she says, "My name is Yalisha Isam. You are people who are looking into the Brotherhood, I can tell this."
That's correct.
She looks at you, Sybil, and she says, "I watched your associate here, watching the members of the club. I figure that you are looking into something that you don't know what you're getting into."
Well, we have an inkling. We have some experience.
What can you tell us about him?
The Brotherhood are a dangerous group. You probably already saw it inside the club, but it is full of them. Full of Brotherhood members.
I saw the owner being, quite frankly, terrified.
She gives this slight laugh and says, "It may be Mr. Noisha's club, but it is not his domain, not anymore."
So it didn't start that way then.
No. The Brotherhood have, what I should say, she has claimed the club as her domain, and the Brotherhood frequent it. The woman you are speaking to in the club, Zahra Shafiq. She is a very dangerous woman.
Well, we did gather that.
You
You're right. Trap. Absolute trap.
would do good to not cross her path.
At least not again.
I approach you because I want your help and I want you to succeed, but I need you to understand what sort of danger you're getting into. You should be more careful in your inquiries about the Brotherhood. They have eyes and ears in many places across the city. There are...
While she's talking, I'm gonna do a spot hidden check.
Go for it.
Because we didn't do that on the way.
Yeah.
Ooh!
Oh, I gotta.
Extreme success. There are three people nearby, nearby who are kind of hanging out.
Kind of hanging out or watching this?
Because of it's dark. You're not exactly sure if they're watching you, but you do detect the presence that there are three people nearby.
As she talks, James just kind of raises a hand. And then in the direction that he's noticed people, just kind of flicks his head.
Her eyes shoot out like over in that direction, but she does not move from her, tucked away hiding spot in the arches. She just kind of goes, like I said, they have eyes and ears in many places. They are nothing to be taken lightly. All right, Kristen, were you about to say something?
No.
Okay. Yalisha says, I want revenge. The Brotherhood killed my boyfriend, Badru. She looks at you, James, and she says, you saw it in the club. There are people who are more hands-on with the dancers than others are allowed to be. One customer, a member of the Brotherhood, made a series of advances towards me a while back. Badru did not know that it was a member of the Brotherhood, and he threatened them for making advances towards me. And they killed him for it. They killed him just for that encounter. They are dangerous.
Oh.
But
how long ago was that this happened?
me consults my notes to get the timeline of how long ago.
Sorry,
No.
Sybil's now just like, I want to know when.
All that I'm seeing is recently, so she just says recently.
Okay.
Very, very recently.
Very recently. Okay.
It is... she swallows heavily. Zara Shafiq is very important to them. And she runs a spice shop nearby on Warder Street, and you should avoid it at all costs. Avoid her at all costs. Now, look, she says, I don't want it to take too much more time. I'll just let you know what I have seen. I've worked at the club for a while now. I've seen a few things. I don't know much, but I want revenge and I want you to succeed. And if I can be of any help, I will do whatever I can. She kind of like Hurley like looks out, like peeks over towards the street. And Yalisha says, once a month, I've noticed, once a month, and I want to help more. Beyond this, I'm just telling you what I know now. Once a month, I have noticed that around midnight, a truck arrives at the Blue Pyramid. Once a month, and a bunch of the members of the Brotherhood, led by Zahra Shafiq, get in the truck and they leave London. I do not know where they go, but it has happened every month.
Does it happen to, say, coincide with the new moon?
I think so, yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes. Please. You can find me at the Blue Pyramid. I just wanted to tell you who I am, what I know. I want to help.
Thank you.
Okay.
We'll do
Be safe.
whatever we can.
Be safe and stay low.
I will do my best. She hurriedly dips out of the arches and walks away like nothing happened.
Those going off my spot hidden, those folks that I saw after she goes, do they do anything?
Real quick, which one of you has the lower luck score?
Sybil is a 74.
That would be me.
What's your luck score, James?
About a 55, I believe.
Okay. Could you roll me a luck check real quick?
All right.
Hard success. Okay.
Dude, what is with all these good rolls today?
That's very good, dude. Hell yeah.
Good for you.
Well, so like when Yalisha gets out and just begins walking away, the three individuals who were nearby, they don't really do anything. They kind of like look over in her direction, kind of look over at your direction, but otherwise don't do anything notable. They're just kind of like hanging out nearby. But they don't move, they don't leave. They just kind of, they're just like, you know, and now that you can kind of like, you had eyes on them, it seems to be three women, just kind of hanging here on the street. But I mean, after like a minute or two, if you don't do anything else, they just start to like walk in the opposite direction of where Yalisha was going. They just kind of like as a group, just kind of leave, walk away.
Okay. All right.
I don't think I like this club very much.
No, it's not the best. Quite unfortunate. I really like the drinks there.
I liked the atmosphere. Unfortunately, I guess it's full of murder.
I guess this is our murder house that
I
we
guess
were
this is
looking
our
for.
murder- Well, maybe not. Sounds like somewhere else is the murder house, actually.
Oh, it's
Guess they
housing the
take a truck.
murderers.
I mean, true.
Well, look, they're gone, so let's go
Yeah,
ahead and get
let's go.
moving before anybody else decides to show up.
Great. You guys leave, heading back to the hotel.
Yep. Keeping
Great.
an eye on my tail the entire time.
Yes, you do. Actually, yeah. Well, let's make a separate spot hidden check for that.
Oh, great.
Why not?
Why not? Fuck it. Let's go.
Okay. The streets are dark. You're paranoid, but you walk back to the hotel. Doesn't help with the fact that same for you, Sybil. Doesn't help the fact that when you get back to your hotel, you have the news broken to you by your friends.
Well, our rooms were broken into. I think you can guess what's missing.
Sybil looks like she's gonna cry. She's so upset. She's like, oh no.
James just kind of like in his like whole disappointment drop, just wraps arms around her, pulls her close, and pat.
I just got those books.
I know. Well, I think it was only the others were left at the Penhew Foundation, wasn't it?
So about the Penhew Foundation, I feel as though that might be a little bit of what tipped people off about things for reasons that just makes sense. So we were talking to the man's name escapes me again. He doesn't deserve
Edward Gavigan.
It's Gavigan. Cool. He doesn't deserve we were speaking to Mr. Gavigan at some point. A mention of cults came up. He explained a certain thing about something about his tone. Told me he didn't take very kindly to certain ideas. Not to mention that they would know that we have the books. They would know our address. They would know basically out of everyone we have spoken to for so far. Not our address. Well, the hotel that we did give them
We gave them the connection to the hotel. Yes,
To contact us.
to contact us.
I want to mention one tragic detail that I did not mention earlier. It is truly the most upsetting thing that's happened to it, but Mason, all of your glasses in your room had been knocked over.
Son of a bitch!
There's water
knocked over my
everywhere.
The fucking room is practically
Floor is
flooded.
soggy.
You better not walk around that carpet in socks. You'll have wet socks for weeks.
I'm gonna kill every last one of them. I'm gonna kill every last one of them. I wanted to see how many fucking cups of water I could get before we leave London.
Mason is going scorched earth.
Soggy
Kill
earth.
all of them. Soggy earth.
Soggy earth.
It's half soggy earth.
Wet.
Anyway, back to the game. Back to the game.
So yeah, no. So unless the deranged. Oh, okay. Let's not use the word deranged. Unless the painter that we encountered, who was also the other person that has our address, and unless Scotland Yard itself.
We didn't give him his address. We gave him our card. My card goes to
America,
Right.
which then reroutes. It's similar to how if you try to contact Erica Carlisle, you got to go through her representative.
Right.
Although in this
And
case,
this
your representative is your butler.
Yes, exactly. they have to call Maurice first.
Keeping all
Maurice,
the-
who then routes it to like Deborah Barrows, who then then gives Maurice the okay, and then he routes it back
Yeah.
to you, and then Steve sends a postcard. Anyway, back to the game.
keeping in mind as oh, a lot of things happened tonight. I'm pretty sure you were also being followed. Yes, is that a thing? Are
Yes,
going
yes,
to
we
just
were being
ignore-
followed.
Okay. So we're all being followed. Yeah, and that is also a fortune teller caught on fire
We
after
spoke to Elias.
he spoke to Jackson Elias.
What?
Well, Jackson Elias's spirit through the fortune teller to
What?
be specific.
Okay, hold on.
Caught on fire.
Too much going on. Too much going on.
How about you guys start from the beginning and
Yes.
we'll tell you what happened to us.
So we were doing a fucking crazy bar crawl.
So ellipses on the end of that sentence you just said. Cut to you guys catch them up to speed.
Yeah.
Oh wait, hold on. It's like that scene from Ant-Man when his friend is explaining the situation. Mason just going like, just going off.
And then the bitch set on fire, and we were like, ah! And she was like, ah! And then Kit just put her out. She wasn't on fire anymore. It was crazy. It's the craziest bar crawl I've ever fucking been on. I'll tell you what.
So I apologize if we seem to be some sort of whatever. It's been a night.
Okay.
So
Okay. All right.
what happened with you?
We had fun.
I think we might. I think we might have befriended / caught the attention of a lady who probably wants to murder us.
Oh.
Yeah.
She's hot though. She's like
Oh,
really
no.
hot. She's so
Look.
hot.
Look, she started courting us, and both of us were just like looked at each other. This is a trap.
It's a trap.
right?
It's such
Yeah,
a
it's a
trap.
trap.
She's
It's
so
a trap.
hot.
She tried way too hard for a couple of random strangers.
Yeah.
So we found our juju house.
Mhm. Cult of the Black
Oh.
Pharaoh runs the area. There's a dancer lady there who is very frightened of them.
We're not going to talk about anybody that we may or may not have met there, but we might have friends.
It's something at least.
It is
There's-
indeed.
This is the same somebody goes missing, some action takes place, new moon every month.
There's a truck. They all get in it. They leave London every month. Once a month. New moon.
New moon, same as.
Did you manage to find out any information about the threatening message we were sent?
Well, it was probably a fucking death threat.
So it does work on tarot rules then.
Well,
Go skip
likely
over
the
that
same
one.
people who ransacked our rooms, as it were.
Oh, most definitely.
Speaking of, can we like search through the rooms, see if anything was like maybe left behind, or like anything was dropped, or any other mysterious warnings were left amidst the belongings or something like that?
Let me double check something before I give that a definitive answer.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Where did that go? Oh, where is my cultist in the window?
How much is that cultist in the window?
Bark, bark.
Let's see.
Bark, bark! Stab, stab!
Yeah.
All hail.
All hail. The one who was screaming, all hail.
Nyarlathotep.
Nyarlathotep. Nyarlathotep. God, I really miss the fucking voices I did for the Bloody Tongue cultists.
Yeah.
I just really like going like Nyarlathotep.
Yeah, shut the fuck up.
Anyway, looking a thorough examination of all of your rooms turns up nothing of interest beyond what might be some like slightly muddy like boot prints, nothing that's like strong, just the significance that somebody was in your room, but nothing of like huge relevance was dropped or left behind. These people efficiently tore your room apart. That even I'd say that like as fucking upset as you may be about it, there are aspects of just seeing how efficiently your room was turned upside down that some of you might be like, fuck, they're good. That's some good shit. Nice, professionally. Fuck
Hey,
that shit. Yeah, what's
Xander,
up?
can I ask a very specific question? There were muddy footprints left behind, right?
Before you say, where do they go? It's more like...
No, not where do they go? What type of soil?
You can probably make a check for that, can't you?
See? Sunil is not a master of any, jack of all trades, master of nothing. So
What
depends
skill,
on what it would
skill
be.
are you angling for?
I wasn't angling for anything specific. I've been generally just letting you do whatever.
You know what? Here, let me
I
take a
only use my geology stats for this. It's very
I
odd.
have always been chemistry. What?
Taryn, did you say geology?
Yeah.
My man.
Yes, indeed.
Let me
Can
pull
I
up the
make-
rule book. Hold on. What's up? What's up? What do you,
Can I make a check purely on the dumb luck that Mason might know something about this?
Have a fucking mythos.
I have a secondary question.
what's your secondary question?
Like, unrelated to all of this.
Uh-huh.
In James and Sybil's room,
Uh-huh.
are the spices still there?
Yeah. Those are like much they're still there, but they've actually been rifled through. Like there's just parts of it, like half of the jars are like all spilled out. You get the idea that these were like someone like opened these and like ruffled around in there to see if there was anything hiding in the spice jars. And so there's just like spice
Smart.
scattered around your room, but like the spice jars are still there and just like but like significantly lessened of how much spice is in them.
Throwing them out. Throw those out.
There's death in those spices.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Very well could
As I'm loading the PDF of the rulebook to check on the stuff about the rolls, I don't know. This has been the meme itself has been in my head all week, but I was trying to think how am I gonna insert this into tonight's game. I'm just explicitly picturing Mason on all on all fours, hands and knees, like looking at the dirt, like pinching it, like looking at it really close, trying to think what is this. Like licks it a little bit, and Kit gives him that look of like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "Don't talk to me. I'm doing hot girl shit."
Don't talk to me. I'm doing detective stuff. Hold on. Oh yeah, that's dirt, all right.
You know what? Licking the dirt is actually very much geology detective
Yeah.
shit. You gotta test for salt content.
I'm very much
unless
waiting
you're
for the rule
pretty
book
sure
to
it's
load on
radioactive,
my
then you don't
computer.
want to lick it.
Yeah, no, Darby, actually, while we're on this topic, I was following
I forgot what their official title was. I was following one on Tumblr, and somebody was like, haha, do you guys lick the rocks? And she was like, yes.
Yes.
That's actually one of the first things you do is lick the rock. Like, it isn't it to like figure out if it's like not porous, but like it's kind of to figure out
halite content usually. So if it tastes salty, then yeah, it's got some halite in it.
Okay, so you mentioned a geology check.
Yes.
Let me just look at that. Really, I'm showing that as sciences geology.
I love looking at rocks. I don't know. I don't even do it for
I'm sure
geological
there's no
reasons.
arsenic in it.
I don't even do it for geological reasons. I just really
It
like
does
looking rocks.
specifically under the description say evaluate soil, so you may make a geography check, Tarrant.
geography.
Geography?
Geology.
It's
Where
geology.
on the map is this dirt from?
We all heard geology. Fine.
Sorry, I said geography.
There you go.
Wow, fucking narrowly succeeded.
Yeah. Yeet.
Barely.
I'm so glad I asked this question. Thank you, Taryn
Well,
Gaines.
hold on, guys. We need to stress that Tarrant is an archaeologist, and like it's like I am fully assuming that in his like coat like pocket he has one of those like little mini retractable sliding magnifying lenses.
Yep,
And he can like put a little
loop.
dirt in his finger,
A little
hold up,
magnifying loop.
examine it. By your best approximation, this is probably just typical like London dirt, this is like the mud that takes the boot of the entire fucking city essentially. Nothing like super special about it. But it's like this is like it's not like this is grave dirt. It's like no, this is probably just the streets are fucking. There's mud on the streets. It's misty and rainy and cold out here. Like. Yeah, so it is London mud. I'm glad we
What do you
extended it
see,
for that
Tarrant?
long, but it was worth it.
listen. It being London mud is just like
What your archaeologist's eye see?
Tarrant, what do you see? What are you looking? What's fascinating?
what's in the mud, Tarrant?
What's in the mud, Tarrant?
Well, just your typical London boot mud.
God, 10 out of 10 science, Professor Gainsborough. 10 out of 10 science.
So Neil and Tarrant, high five.
I'm gonna go talk to the front desk sternly.
Actually, I would like to go with you.
Yeah, you two get into a very fun conversation with the front desk where they have no idea what's going on and they are so sorry. They have no
We're
idea.
not paying for these rooms.
Right? You didn't protect your stuff. Right.
There is the front desk is basically just it's the late shift people, so they're just like, oh, I'm gonna have to tell my boss about this in the morning. Oh, I'm fucked. Yeah, Atwis.
Sorry.
I just had a realization.
What's your realization?
Pretty much every hotel has hotel safes.
Yes.
I'm just imagining that kid being pre-Curb Your Enthusiasm is having whatever the 1920s equivalent of Curb Your Enthusiasm would be going on in his head right now. It's just-
If there were any safes in your rooms, those were actually also busted open too.
Ah.
Well, usually like there are safes in rooms, but like usually like there are safes like for like that the hotel staff can put stuff in. Usually, if I recall
Oh yeah,
correctly.
there's that too. Yeah.
It's been a fat second since I've been in a hotel because
Yeah.
Yeah, I do believe that the hotel probably has like a safe near the front desk.
let's keep that in
That has
mind for the
also been
future.
busted into.
Let's just put a pin in that for the next time we're in a hotel.
Because someone mentioned something and now it's made me nervous. Is my purple shirt gone?
No, it's still there.
Is it okay?
Okay.
Is it in wearable condition?
It is in completely wearable
yeah.
condition, a little wrinkled from being
Okay.
thrown around.
Just wanted to make sure because
any-
I just
Although Sybil, you are unfortunately discovered that one of your favorite fur coats has had the lining totally ripped open to see if there's anything hiding in between the layers.
Oh, that sucks. It's so obnoxious to reline a coat. Sorry.
Sybil's so sad. Like she's like, oh.
We sent that painting back to Maurice, didn't we?
Crazy old.
Did we do that?
Yeah, we did.
I thought you left in your room.
Oh, actually, I mean, the plan was to send it to Maurice, but I don't know if we actually have sent it out yet.
Is the painting gone too?
Painting's not gone.
Yeah.
The painting, it was not framed yet. You just had the canvas, so it's like it's not like it was back. It was like ripped open to see if there's anything hiding. The painting's still here. Because you just had it. You just had the canvas rolled up. So
Okay.
I don't recall if it was sent to Maurice. I don't think it was. So, but it's still intact.
But while we're at the front desk, Mason is, frustrated. He's gonna ask if anybody asked about us to come and like to our rooms. How would they have known what our rooms were?
The front desk tells you honestly they have no idea. Like nobody has come in specifically asking about you. Nobody has like as far as they know, after the last conversation that the front desk had with about like the random message that got dropped off, like nothing else has happened in regards to you guys. Like people come and go from the hotel, but no one has specifically come to the front desk being like, hey, where's the room of these people? Tell me, I'll break your knees,
So they would have had to have known the room numbers because we would have told them outside of the hotel, because I don't think anybody who was following us followed us into the hotel unless we just never asked at any point. That said, that feels a little like a close trace if you're following us into the hotel, but they could be doing a completely different MO from last time where they didn't follow us inside, but definitely.
I'm just curious about like, how would they know where our rooms were?
In order to phone
didn't
Kit's room,
ask.
they would have to know.
Yeah, Kit gave the Penny Foundation.
Right.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
That's why I'm saying the Penview Foundation is the only leak I can think of that would have all of these things.
Oh
Yeah.
man.
Well,
Dang it.
I mean, unless it's the same people who knew where to send the Ankh letter.
Well, I also think that had to do because even though time frame wise it's not super favorable.
Yeah.
I mean, given that the cult seems to have eyes everywhere, doesn't seem like
Yeah.
it's hard to get a message across town. Just be like,
Yeah.
"Warning."
And then they wouldn't have needed the room number at that point because remember the bellboy brought it up.
Yeah.
True. And I mean, if Zara's worked closely with the Penny Foundation before for, her what did she say? Her interests, was it?
It's like literally
I
the
like-
only. Sorry, continue.
Nah, you good.
No,
I mean, she
literally
said-
the only
oh, go
other. Literally, say what she said because that's more like on the thing.
Specifically what she said. I'll read the passage from the book directly. What she said was, sorry, let me flip the pages. She said that she has assisted the Penny Foundation on occasions with expedition preparations, giving briefings on the climate and local customs, as well as arranging introductions before groups headed out to Egypt. And in 1919, she gave briefings to the Carlisle expedition. The group was in London for a short time, so she didn't really establish any relationship to the members and cannot recall many details, is what she told Sybil and James.
Mm-hmm. So the thing is, the only other two places we've really been to in England so far would be the Scoop and Scotland Yard. And so unless there was something going on weird at Scotland Yard, or we've been completely duped by the Scoop, which I kind of
Seems
doubt.
highly unlikely.
Yeah. Then that would mean most of our leak would be at the Penview Foundation. So sorry, like my entire time this stream has been like, yeah, I'm in deep theory mode now because we've gotten to the
Yeah.
part of the campaign where I can do that. So
Mason's next question is gonna be, did you see a group of people rush out holding a bunch of books?
The front desk tells you the same thing. They didn't see anything related to this whatsoever. They have no idea what happened. Oh, can you hear me?
You cut out at the end of they didn't see.
They didn't see anything. They have no idea. Like they don't see anyone run in. They didn't see anyone run out. People are going to and fro.
Psychology
People are carrying luggage coming in to and fro. Like this is a hotel. Like it is
Yeah.
not suspicious if people are moving about, even at later hours. Like I mean, if you want to roll,
not to mention, sorry. Go to say the thing.
I
Sorry.
was gonna say, if you want to roll psychology, James, you're more than welcome to. But yeah, go ahead.
Can I roll a psychology?
James, the bellhop is
that-
in on it. The bellhop is a cultist.
I'm gonna kill the fucking bellhop.
Can I roll a
yeah,
psychology
please
check
do.
on that too?
Because you actually did roll a fumble. Okay, Mason, you're just fucking upset, so you don't know. Like, I mean, like, you're not getting it one way or the other. You don't suspect, oh, this guy is what. Like, it's a tense situation. And the statement that Sybil and James had from their conversation with that woman from the club that, oh, they have eyes and ears everywhere. You're on your fucking edge. James, you're talking to the bellhop. You're so suspicious of this guy because you fumbled. You see like a book behind the counter that you swear is one of the books that was taken from your room.
Ooh.
God. James just kind of like taps Mason and just points out a book. It's like, that's not it, is it? Am I fucking freaking out?
You see it, and
with
he
that
is
in mind-
totally. You see it, and he's totally just freaking out because the book says ledger on it. Like it is totally just like a hotel ledger. James is totally
Mason
freaking
like
out.
looking, he squints a little bit, turns his head back to James. It's a fucking ledger.
I really like the image of just like Mason looks over, sees James, and he's like, "Am I freaking out?" And he's like bulging eyes.
Am I freaking out right now?
that
Yeah, he's
like
freaking
one
out.
twitching
That's a
vein in
ledger.
like the corner of his temple. Like
I might be angrier than I think I am.
Yeah, no, you definitely are. We were just robbed. That's a ledger. We don't need it.
Calm down. What are you?
At some point, we're gonna have to talk to the police. Yes, we're talking to the police. Mason says to person.
Nobody. Oh, to them?
Yeah, the person. We're gonna talk to the police about this. This is fucking ridiculous. How they got into a room? How'd you not see a bunch of people shambling up with a bunch of books and shit? I'm fucking.
Absolutely zero fucking.
My fucking water!
My fucking water.
My fucking water!
this is.
Can I have an
silly.
idea check on what to do next? Because I myself am stumped.
You're
on
more than
what to
fucking
do.
welcome to. You're more than fucking welcome to. Yeah. And
Thank you. Thank
well,
you.
let's see. I mean, yeah, I mean, and this is open to the council to share ideas amongst yourselves as well, but this is the keeper telling you. Well, you guys, you're kind of running into a wall here. You can't find a lot of information. So the thought occurs to you, Mason Allen, since you have been the most vocal of this and the most paranoid of your entire group.
Oh yeah.
If
Fair
they
enough.
got eyes on you, why don't you get eyes on them? Some surveillance.
How?
We can hire people.
It's almost like
Watch.
we have a trained bounty hunter where his entire profession is following and watching people.
You
But
could
I mean, like,
you could watch the
like-
Blue Pyramid Club. You could watch the Penhue Foundation. You could see if you notice anything interesting. You could if you, fucking Mason. I mean, you're the most chaotic and drastic of the entire group next to Sybil Cordova. Like it is. I mean, like, hey, I mean, why they broke into our rooms? Why don't we break into one of their places? That idea certainly comes into you. It's like, what if
Yeah,
we go? What if we
that's
go
a good
poke
idea,
around?
me. Why didn't I think of that?
that Penhue, like Gavigan did show us to like some of the more private rooms where stuff
That's
was being
true.
held potentially. I'm
I
saying as a
say-
player being like, oh ho ho, interesting. Kid on the other hand is like, oh my god.
Yeah.
Sybil's I mean,
Mason to the council's like, hey, next time we're being followed, let's turn around, let's corner them in the fucking alley, and let's get some information out of them, huh? They knocked
What?
over my fucking water. I'm gonna turn them into glue. That's what I'm gonna do. Yeah, they're gonna be paste by the time I'm done with them.
And there's
fucking
also-
water over.
Yeah. So like I'd say with your idea roll on that, just straight up being like, yeah, cool. I mean, like you guys have never actually done surveillance as a tactic to like keep eyes on anything interesting. Like you could have surveilled Juju House for more information, but that still worked out. But like you could absolutely, I mean, if you're going to do surveillance, that is like a thing that will take like several days of watching a place, you know. So it's like it would that's not a negative thing. Yeah, what's up, Atlas?
When's the next new moon?
Today is what day is it today? It's February 16th, or because the next new moon is the 23rd.
We landed
17th.
Yeah,
the next new moon is the 23rd.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's say we landed on
The 14th.
I'm stupid. Yeah, we landed on Valentine's Day is what I was trying to say out loud.
Yep.
So that's how I've been keeping track of time. But
We
all right,
can
next new moon.
also, like, yes, it would be good to survey things, but also, like, you know, we were able to hire some people who were very good at crime things in New York, so feasibly it's possible that we might not have to do any breaking in ourselves. Just saying, it's an option. Like, we could do that, and I am always for watching my husband do cool things. And I'm just saying, if there's something we need done that we are not necessarily great at doing, we can hire someone else to do it.
I will also say, as the keeper on top of that, like, yes, that is absolutely a thing you can do, since I brought that up before. The difference here is it's not, and this doesn't negate the tactic, it's still totally valid. What makes this more difficult at the moment is that hiring people to break into a place is usually more attainable when you're going for something specific. Like, you need to go, hiring you to do this, to go find this thing, or get this thing, and this is more, unless you know what you're trying to have them find.
I want to break into the Penhue Foundation, get my shit back, and find out what's in the safe.
Yeah, even then, yeah, you don't know.
Right, his safe.
Yeah. Oh yeah, there's the safe in his office as well. But yeah, no, so surveillance is always a good is always a valid tactic. You could always get bold and break into places. And then failing any of this, not even doing necessarily any of that, you also, like, you don't know if this is at all connected to these events whatsoever, but there's still that maybe werewolf thing up in Darby.
Yeah.
That failing anything else, you could just be like, fuck it, we're gonna go to Darby and look into werewolves. Like,
We're gonna go to Darby.
Where are the werewolves, Darby?
Derbyshire.
Where are the
actually.
werewolves, Darby?
I told you it was gonna get confusing real quick. Yeah, up to Derbyshire, and which is near Darby.
Derbyshire. Yeah.
Derbyshire.
So I'm thinking of something crazy like a fox, real quick. And I want to say it on stream so people can hear me out loud say this thing, but I've been thinking it for a while. So, like, just know this is cooking up in Sunil's brain. He's kind of like, I wonder if we can play dumb tourist. And by that, he means as in, he's done this before. He's been many places. But, I need to figure something out from this specific person who is being a little too close to me. I wonder if I can just act lost for a little while. You know, my convenient London tour guide is not with me. And if someone's following me, I can be like, oh, that person seems helpful. Hi, can you help me?
Yeah.
Which might be a way to be able to at least either get identifying information and or... Here's the thing. You don't shoot the messenger, you follow them back.
Yeah, that's a good idea. We corner him into an alley. Yeah.
So it's kind of like, because part of me is kind of like, I want to get a better profile of who's following us, because one, it's weird to me not to be like strangely sexist or anything. It's weird to me that you would have been followed by 3 women specifically in that particular case. I'm saying that because it's the 1920s.
Something else to consider is we could genuinely go to Scotland Yard. Like,
They told us not to cowboy.
Yeah.
That said, we haven't done too much actual cowboying at this point.
Was, like, go to the Penhue Foundation with our legitimate archaeology things that we had, and we were like, hey, we're curious about this Egypt shit. Y'all are great at Egypt shit. Can you look at our Egypt shit? And they were like, we'll look at your Egypt shit. And then they came and stole all of our Egypt shit.
Yeah.
I don't... Listen, we're not going to get anywhere if we accuse the fucking Penhue Foundation of doing that shit. We are a bunch of Americans who just came into town, bum rushed our way into an inspector's office, and kind of bullied him into giving us information. He doesn't exactly really like us at the moment. we could make a police report, and that wouldn't be the worst idea. But I think it would be a really bad idea to be like, the Penhue Foundation absolutely did this. I don't think that would be conducive. Also, I was gonna say the tourist thing's a good idea, but I don't know if Sunil could pull that off. Because
No. He was going to ask one of you. He was going to ask one of you to do it. As in, like, he basically his idea was, I'm going to let Jordan say the thing that he has his hand up for because it's.
Might I propose that we start cowboying?
Oh no, this is totally cowboy time. Yeehaw!
Damn, I say
you don't have a
motherfucker.
cowboy bow in your
I
body.
say.
God damn you, bro.
We retrieve our stuff from the Penhue Foundation and then we set it on fire.
Fucking Mason Allen is just
Why
like,
would you set? No, hold on. Why would you set a mask that lets you meet God on fire? Do you know what that might?
I said that we retrieve our stuffs first, and then we set
Our
it
stuff
on fire.
includes the mask.
fucking Mason
Oh,
Allen.
you mean the
here.
Penhue Foundation? Oh God.
fucking Mason Allen over here. Mason Allen over here. I need to backtrack because this thought came to my head and I'm sharing with everybody. Fucking Mason over here just being like cowboy, and Kit's just like, you're from New York. And he's just like, I dressed up as a cowboy 3 times in my life, and only one of those was a sex thing. Thank you very much.
Wait,
Right, you're from New York and you live in LA. Real
4 and
cowboy
there
shit.
was 2.
If I may say, yeehaw. Anyway.
Oh my god, please.
It's a rootin' tootin' good ride over there.
By the way, oh my
Cowboy
god.
always.
I would like to share something with you guys. Again, it's like we're in this place where, hey, this is whatever you do, great. We'll fucking see what happens as a result, and shit will be fun. But since it's one of the hot topics, I will tell you right now, and I'm just double checking my information. Where is it? Sorry, let me just find the right page. I'm trying to find the right page on the book for this. Okay. So the vast majority of the time, staking out a place to conduct surveillance and see if you can get information, more often than not, does not require any sort of check, just time. Ooh. However, so it's not like it's like, oh, I'm gonna have to make a stealth roll for staking this place out. It's more so the challenges come in the form of what you do as a result. Like, for example, if you're trying to tail somebody, like if you're staking out a place, if you were staking out, like, for example, a Blue Pyramid Club or the Empire Spices Shop, and you wanted to follow Zara Shafiq and see where she went throughout her day, watching the place and seeing things that might happen, because there are absolutely events that happen. Like, need I remind you, back at Juju House, if you had staked that place out from a window, you would have seen one of Robson's corrupt detectives showing up. You would have seen cultists moving in and out of the place throughout the day. Like, you can get clues just by watching at no challenge, but to, tail Zara Shafiq would possibly call for, a stealth roll, depending on the circumstances. That's not even a given. So it's like, getting information through watching a place is not a directly risky move. It's more so what you do as a result of that. So that's something to keep in mind. It just would take time. If you wanted to keep eyes on a place, you would just need to tell me how long you want to keep eyes on it for, and I'll tell you the stuff you see. The longer you keep eyes on a place, the more stuff you'll probably see over the course of time. And I will also remind you that just because you know that something is happening on the new moon does not, and you make whatever choices you want in character and as players. It's absolutely fine. I'm not here to put you on rails or tell you what to do. But as far as you're aware, there is not a timetable yet. There's not a deadline you are working towards yet. Letting one of these events pass by just so you can watch where they go when they when this thing happens is a valid tactic as well. Like, you don't have to do the Juju thing of being like, oh, we're gonna stop this on the night they're doing this thing, which is a few days from now. If you just want to, you can totally just choose to do that, and I will assure you, it won't fuck up the campaign at all. That is, it's not like you're gonna get a fail state for choosing to wait it out and see what they do on the new moon. But again,
So-
entirely up to you. I'm trying to abate any concerns you might have to encourage you guys to make bolder choices.
So, point of order to everybody. Well, not point of order. Question. One, given the fact they just destroyed everything and stole our stuff, do you think they'll let us live for 6 days? That is a legitimate question. Maybe, probably, who knows?
Probably
Second,
for less.
yeah. It's like, second question is, that is actually a legit point. One, because we have to figure out where they're getting picked up from and where they're going in the first place. So it is like we would have. I feel as though with where we are right now, one, there are 6 of us, so easily split up. But if somebody wants to go do Werewolf Town, because I love werewolves. I love werewolf.
Darby
lore.
is excitedly raising his hand alongside Kristen right now. It's great. It's great.
Listen, there's only so much more talking Sybil can do. So
Yeah. So it's
I'm
like
there's a thing where I might as well.
yeah, and then honestly, which I yeah, no, and then we could stake out a place or two, figure out like what we think the most important places to stake out would be, try to follow that, and then I do think we should just plan on maybe trying to get information on where on at least where they're being picked up and what direction they're going in when it comes to like what's going with that, because the thing is they've been doing this for several months, so it's probably, or at least from what my understanding of things, several moon cycles at the very least. So missing one immediately to make something more concrete later, just figuring that out for now would be beneficial. That's my thank you. I will step down from the podium now.
Cool. As far as staking out the place, the Pinhu Foundation, it should probably be a person or persons who haven't been there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
yeah,
if Kristen, if you're wanting to also do the Werewolf Town, then like maybe James scopes out the place, the Pinhu Foundation, because the rest of us are compromised.
I can definitely watch a bunch of nerds be stupid.
You know, we
They're
did
being smart. They have books.
we did specifically. Sorry.
No, it's okay.
No, you're good.
Specifically tell Gavigan about the mask and that we were thinking of bringing it in.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be worst idea because first off, we were thinking about, dipping into the Jackson Fund to get access to the Penny Foundation archives, which I think we should still maybe possibly do. But it also might not be the worst idea to try and get a meeting with Gavigan and see how he reacts to the news of the item being
Yeah.
stolen.
Yeah, in fact, it would be strange if we didn't tell him at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If the
And
thing
also-
that we yeah, sorry,
Yeah,
continue.
and also the one thing that I just realized that might throw a wrench into that idea of people who haven't been there being like quote safe. Even they might not be safe. They've ransacked our hotels. If we had any kind of identification in there, they know who all of us are.
Yeah. So I actually think pretending as though we don't suspect them the most, because we can't 100% say they did it, but also it tends to buy you more time if you this is a tactic that I actually heard from I heard the other day from Tech Rules when they were talking about how Spyro keeps people from keep people who have hacked the game from realizing they've hacked the game, is that the game plays generally normal up to a certain point. And it does long enough for you to not try to, for you to think, oh, my hack worked. It's not broken. We should probably just go about mostly as normal. However, we should be also keeping eyes. Basically, since we did talk about going back to the Penhu Foundation anyway, in order to peruse their Egyptian stuff, one, we'd be getting the information about any of the Egyptian stuff that we did have and that we remember. But two, we would have eyes around in the area. Three, Gavigan wouldn't be immediately tipped off that we suspect him. Basically, like, we'd be able to look at the place, kill 2 birds, 1 stone. 3 birds, even.
Yeah, sounds good.
So it sounds like you're saying a more direct approach is the better way. It also feels like the most apt to be a trap. Like that. It sounds like for a dude like what's his name? We both forget his name. The director.
He doesn't deserve it.
Gavigan.
Gavigan. I know. I keep G.
Yeah.
Gavigan. He's a smart dude. It feels like this is the perfect. If he's the bad dude here, it feels like this is the perfect way to get your prey to walk right into your cage.
Oh, but don't smart people love to play with you a little bit though?
Oh, yeah, I guess so.
Bring a gun.
Just bring a gun. Bring several guns.
I have
Shoot
to get
someone
my
if you need
gun.
Yes.
He still has to get his gun.
I have to get my gun.
I have the
He has to
exact.
get it, yeah.
I'm going to tell you guys right now, by the way. So I do have the exact time of when customs is going to allow James to have his gun. And you will not find out until that day has arrived because customs sucks like that.
Well, I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I did send a telegram to Ramsey asking for, money to get access to the archive. Would it have been enough turnaround time to get a response from him or not?
Today still, I think. Or
Yeah,
yesterday.
it is still the same day. It's been about like 8 to 10 hours since then ish. So
I also had Sybil send a telegram to Erica being like, so we're looking into things with your brother at this Penhew Foundation. Says he's got some stuff related to the Carlisle expedition. Was wondering if maybe you'd help a friend look into things. XOXO kisses.
Yeah, that's still sent. You're still waiting on the return on that message. Yeah.
So a thought I've had since I didn't think about staking things out being an option. I wonder. So I understand that the whole paintings thing is so barely a part of things, but the fact that it is a part of this trail at all makes me be like, that's a hanging thread that's just sitting over there that we know nothing about.
I wonder if that's like a red herring with some weird supernatural stuff. It might not have anything to do with what we're dealing with. It might be something fucked up. I don't know about like the weird lizard lady and her like freaking out son, like that's
like
if it did
how much of it is related cult stuff and how much of it is just Jackson was really into weird stuff.
Weird shit.
Yes. That word.
Question then never mind, we haven't actually looked into that yet, so never mind. Because that's peeking at the back of my mind. That said, we might be thinking too small in the sense of it's a globe-trotting campaign, and things will lead back to other things. So it might not be important now, but it might be important later. So I think keeping it in the back of our minds, but deciding on a current thread to a couple current threads to follow, but not forgetting that that's a thing.
I will absolutely reveal the fact that, because this spoils nothing, there is absolutely stuff in this campaign that you find connections to other places in other places. Like if you leave London and go somewhere else, there's a very good chance. I'm obviously I know all of them. I'm not gonna say them out loud. That like, for example, if you go to like I'm not saying that this is a connection that does exist. I'm just going to say like this for reference. If you like went to Australia, you could be in Australia and there is like you could find like a fucking shipping receipt that has the fucking name like of an NPC you've met from like London on it, where you're just like, wait a second, this connects to that. Oh my god, new idea. We know that this is related to that. Like there is a big intricate web here, and it's not like a linear experience. So if you decided to leave a place because you don't have a lot of clues and you don't feel comfortable jumping gung-ho into a situation, you can go somewhere else, feel it out, see if you can find things that make you more comfortable while traveling. That's entirely up to you. Ooh. Yeah, Alice, what's up? Oh, sorry,
Jordan first.
You first, then Alice.
Okay. I was going to propose the question of how would the rest of the party feel about us, splitting up 2 different countries?
No.
Might be
Not at this point.
At the same time.
not safe.
I'm willing to do it eventually, but I don't think at this exact point that would be the most beneficial thing we could do, because there's enough stuff in the general area for splitting up to do, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I was just...
It's too. In general, I feel like it's already like coming from the era we are in now with cell phones versus the 1920s, where we're already dealing with like trying to connect to someone across the pond, as it were, and finding out that it takes time. The idea that something could happen to a group while we're in a different country, we just wouldn't fucking know.
Just hear it in the news.
Yeah, don't
Yeah.
like that.
That's
I guess
if it even makes it like big news.
Yeah, I guess the reason why I'm not saying never is because we might be pressed into a situation at some point.
Yeah,
That
I don't
said,
know.
it's
I guess
unfavorable.
Like,
I
if you
guess
ever
just what I've been thinking is that there's been a lot of stuff that has been moving behind the scenes, probably stuff that like we're not really like super aware of. Like we kind of saw it in Waterdeep, and I fully expect that like it happens in this game too, where like
100%.
we may not feel that we are being pressed,
I have
but
timetables.
I'm sorry.
I said I have timetables for so many things. Yeah, like there are absolutely
Yeah.
things in the background that are still going to happen, depending on what's going on.
I was about to say, sorry, continue. Sorry.
I have the worry that if we end up spending a lot of time, like all of us spending a lot of time in one specific place, we'll be missing stuff that is probably happening in China or Australia or Kenya. Like if we were to spread out, it would be dangerous. But I mean, like there has to be a point where we start, really doing the dangerous things.
Like I wanted to say before. Sorry, let me just say this and then absolutely please go. Because like one thing that I think is really cool to keep in mind is just like, yeah, like, and it's like if you ever find out, oh, this thing over here is on a timetable, but so is this thing over here, and if we all go for this one thing, we'll miss this thing. That's absolutely a moment where you can be like, well, then let's split up so we can cover the ground here. Kristen, you first, and then split. Go with what you were about to say.
I guess my thought is totally valid. Right now, my big concern is these potential cultists have a bunch of mythos shit in their hands now that was in our hands, and I wouldn't want to leave London without that stuff being back in our hands.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't want to leave London yet either. We still have some stuff to do, but I was like, once we get our shit back,
UK, we do have to go pick up this work thing, but you know what I mean.
And split.
Basically the same thing. Like it would be. The thing that we need for that is that it's very situational.
Yep.
Is we need a lead in order to guide us in one or the other direction. If we come to a head where it is in fact like exactly what Xander said, over there, but over there, then we can like consider that shit then.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like exactly said, it's entirely situational. It's like it is dangerous to be split up because I mean every area in this campaign is going to have its share of danger. It's just a matter of you guys coming to a point where you're comfortable saying it's dangerous for us to split up, but it's more beneficial if we cover multiple ground at once like this. So that is very much like a thing that like you might not feel that way right now. It's like, okay, well then let's keep chugging forward as a group. Darby.
Okay. So it sounds like we're saying our priority is to get the stuff that matters and then maybe get out of town as a group.
I mean, I don't know if we need to get out of town, but for the moment, I'd say deal with. We need to get our stuff, and we've still got leads here. We can still work out stuff that's going on with this cult and kind of work out what they're doing. So we're best dealing with that right now since it's in front of us.
Yeah, I was gonna say because the thing about London, and I think the reason that we all agreed to come here first anyway, is because we did have more information and/or things we could look through here. The only places I can think of that we have enough information to justify country hopping right now would be either Kenya or China, and the China information is so split up right now that I wouldn't feel comfortable going there right now, and the Kenya information is so like strange in the sense that it also doesn't. I wouldn't do a right now country hop, but I do like the idea that you're like keeping it forward because it is something that we need to be genuinely considering at some point.
Yeah, and I wasn't saying for us to do it like right now because we have other shit to do. But I would like to posit that like once we get this stuff, let's start thinking about it.
Yeah.
Okay.
possibly with other details.
For now, God, now that my brain's exploded going over all of the Jesus fucking Christ, I'm exhausted.
Yeah, it's fair. Absolutely fair.
Planning phase.
Yes. No, very much a planning phase. Yeah, that is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it. That's the name of the episode.
There we go.
We'll talk about that in the after show.
I have an episode name in mind.
I can't wait to
Okay.
hear it. Yeah, continue.
So we need to deal with the fact that the Penhue Foundation has our stuff.
Allegedly.
Mm,
The cur-
allegedly.
allegedly, but they totally have our stuff. So I like the idea of at least going and talking to him because I feel like it would be suspicious if we didn't.
Yeah.
Just, make sure you have something. Just make sure you're prepared for a fight if it comes to that, but,
Well, it was the damnedest thing, old sport. Someone broke into our apartment and gummed up the works.
Okay, so if
Not a
it's
part-
if that's the case,
The worst.
then if we have somebody scope out the Penhue Foundation, are we also gonna send people into the Penhue Foundation? While it's maybe
I think because Tarrant has gone. Sorry. No, I was just I think that if we send a singular person in there to just be there, I think it should be Tarrant, and the reason being because guy likes him the most archaeological experience, so any sort of thing that he'd be able to do in the library, he'd actually be able to do. He's the least weird to be there. Let's just put it that way.
Love it. Good plan.
Yeah. Hey, Tarrant, how good are you at reading people? If you were
let's
to
see.
rate your psychology skill on a numerical scale from 1 to 100,
Oh, from 1 to 100. Well, let me think about that for a moment.
because
I would say
it's not
at
too
about
hot.
a 10.
if it's not too hot, then I would suggest somebody go with Tarrant to maybe
believe
try
that's a
and
good
idea.
suss out
All right,
what
so Mason has
reaction
volunteered.
is.
So
Yeah.
Mason's volunteered. So Mason
Oh.
will go with Tarrant.
I'll go with them. Damn, I
Yeah.
wanted to see the werewolves.
Apparently, I'm a lot more academic than social.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I've got a
yeah.
50 in psychology, so really it's a coin
Oh,
toss.
yeah.
So I mean,
That's better than what I got.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, things to consider over the next week and the figuring out what you want to do now that you kind of are aware of the fact that you're hitting a wall without doing some self-motivated investigation into watching the people who seem to be watching you. So, I think on that particular note, with this kind of planning phase coming to a little bit of a head, let us call it there for this week's session. Give you guys a nice, time between now and next Friday to kind of really think about the way you want to fan out and go through the process next session. For the rest of you, thank you so much for watching, and we will see you all right back here, same time, same place next Friday for the continuing adventures of Call of Cthulhu: Masks of Nyarlathotep. Until next time, Cthulhu Fatagan.